Hello everyone and Happy New Year. This is the first update for SEG of the year, and today, since it's New Year, it's time for New Year resolutions. We're gonna do something different. We're gonna talk not what we did before or what we did last week because we were all on holidays, but we're gonna talk about what we intend to do throughout the next few months. So we've been working so far on Jupyter, we've been working on pipelines, but I want to share a little bit about where do I want to get with each of those things. So, just a recap. The vision of the SEG MLOps is to make GitLab a tool machine learning engineers and data scientists love to use. So not something they have to use, they're forced to use, but something they advocate for within the company, something they like to be part of. And within that, the mission is to explore and collaborate with different teams to deliver features that improve the user experience. And along the way, also increase the awareness within the company about this user base. So that link over there goes into the MLOps handbook page if you want to check it out. Most of this will end up there at some point. But yeah. To achieve this vision, right now we have 4 areas that it's in my mind a bit. So first of all is user personas, then rendered code review for Jupyter notebooks, and then Glyter, and then analytics repository. Most of it I have already spoken about a bit here, but except the analytics repository, but I will go over everything. So first of all, user personas. It's no secret that data scientists and machine learning engineers were not considered target customers or target users for GitLab. We knew they used GitLab, but there was nothing done for them, and that is reflected on the lack of a user persona and user research done on the area. So the impact of this is that when you go and talk to teams about specific use cases for data scientists, you always have to explain the data science use case in itself, how it is different than a regular developer, and how it changes, how it needs to be special here and there, the skill sets that are generally used, the outcomes, and everything else. And this becomes repetitive because you have to explain over and over and over. And you are the one coming with ideas, while if they know about the use case from the get-go, they can come up, the other teams can come up with the ideas and with the improvements themselves, not only myself. So I believe one of the main things we can do to increase impact on the long term for data scientists and for machine learning engineers is to create the user personas. Not ourselves, of course, with the user research, with the UX and user research departments, but work with them and drive this creation and drive the kickstart the user research on this area, so that it's not my word. Right now, it's my word. It's me talking, and I want the users to talk. I know what the users want. Well, some, because I was a user, I was the data scientist, I was there, I felt the pain points that I'm trying to solve, but not the rest of the team. So this is what we need to solve. The second point that we want to work on is rendered code reviews for Jupyter notebooks. And then you ask me, wait, didn't you already deliver something 4.14.5? And yes, we did. We did deliver the cleaner code review experience, so cleaner diffs, where we transform into Markdown and we display this and remove a lot of unnecessary things, and then we display that one, which is already a big step in the right direction. But consider this scenario. Suppose that I have this notebook here, nothing special about it, an image, a couple of images with, just random data. This is how the diff looks like. Now, this is already much better than the diff before on the JSON base, but look at how much space this image takes, and it becomes hard to find what can be commented on. So what we want to do, and then I come with a what if here. We can do better. What if instead of displaying this markdown, we actually had code reviews over the notebook itself, or render the blocks within the notebook in the diff. So this is what I'm talking about. Now, mind yourself, this is a very poor image edition that I made in Google Slides itself. So, but the idea here is we render each block, we do diffs. It's a different diff algorithm. It's a diff in diff. Pardon of the pun, data scientists might understand that. But a diff in diff. First you diff the cell, the idea of the cells, and then you diff what's in each cell. And then you can create the display. But the point is, we are now rendering blocks of what is in there. So when I'm reviewing the code, I'm not only reviewing the code, I'm reviewing the image itself. Like I can see the image over there. I can discuss if that's the best representation or not. I can discuss the code. I can discuss the equations. I can discuss the markdown. The notebook. I look at the notebook, not at the source file. Now, we know from users that they do want still the raw diffs. There are still use cases where the raw diff is important, and we don't want to hide that. So we also are going to add the ability to toggle between raw and render diff. But this is an idea of where we want to go. We want to be able to have the code review, have the diff with rendered blocks, with markdown rendered, with image renders, with code cells rendered, because this is what is necessary to have a good code review on a Jupyter notebook. You cannot rely only on the code. You need the images itself, because images are the output, and they depend on each other. So yeah, I'm very excited about this, and I'm very confident we can do this. It might take a while, but we need to do this. It's just something we need to do. So to get there, this is what we want to do. This are the 6 items that I want to deliver in the next few months for the rendered Jupyter notebook. Notebook diff, which is not a markdown diff, so it's an algorithm specific for rendering, for different notebooks. Render the images, render markdown blocks, render latex, render the code, and the ability to toggle between raw and render diff. We're already working on a lot of this, so we're already working on the part of toggling between raw and render diff. We're already working on the notebook diff, and then render becomes the next step. So that was for render, so notebook diffs, and now we go into the third step, which is Glyter. Glyter is a library we created, a very simple one for now. It was more of a proof of concept that, let me open up here, Glyter, that picks up a Jupyter notebook, for example, this notebook over here. So it has a couple of steps, and it runs this notebook as a pipeline. So each one of the steps will become a step. So if I come here over the pipeline, over the CI/CD pipelines, I can see on this one over here that there was one step for each one of the steps that were on that original notebook. And we can do better. Of course we can do it. It would, if we couldn't, this was a proof of concept. If we couldn't do better, it would be a failed proof of concept. But how do we want to make it better? The key thing here that we need to remind is that since training models takes a lot of time, takes a lot of resources, sometimes resources the data scientists don't have on their machine, or the data they cannot access from their machine for many reasons, pipelines are not, for MLOps, are not part of the verify stage. They are as well, but they are part of the create stage. And at the create stage, you cannot expect the data scientists to keep creating a commit every time they want to change a code they are prototyping. So imagine that you are prototyping your model, and every time you change something, you have to commit so that it goes there and triggers a pipeline. That doesn't make a lot of sense. But at the same time, right now, all pipelines run with things that are within with the file. Even the Glyter, for my pipeline for Glyter to run, the notebook has to be on the repository. But what if we could run a notebook, an arbitrary notebook, on a pre-configured repository? So think about it. You have one repository shared across the company. Its only goal is to have pre-configured runners and a way that anybody or the data scientists can run their pipelines on that repository. So this is what I'm talking about. I just passed the repository where this needs to be run, and a notebook that is in my machine. It's not on the repository. It's not committed. It's probably in staging. I just change a line or something. I don't know. But take the thing that we're building with Glyter right now, that of transforming into a GitLab CI, but with a arbitrary notebook. And I think we can do that without any changes to GitLab codebase. Just a lot of creative engineering. So my strategy on tackling this, on trying to make a MVP for this, is to rely on the GitLab API to upload a notebook into the repository, and then trigger a pipeline that is already configured, where you pass that file, the path to that file, the pipeline downloads, the parent pipeline downloads that Jupyter file, transforms into a GitLab CI, and runs it as a child pipeline. Is that pretty? Our goal is not to be pretty. Our goal is to make it work, so that later we can think how to make it right. So first step, make it run. Second step, make it right. So that is a lot of creative engineering, which is a lot of fun. I'm very excited about trying this out. And I think it will work. If it doesn't, I will just add more creative engineering to it. But the key problem here right now is how to make it run with arbitrary notebook, not relying on a file that's in the commit at this point. So yeah, let's try it out. Another thing on this that I haven't mentioned, one thing that is in my mind for pipelines is the concept of the checkpoints, especially for machine learning engineers. So suppose that you're training a model, downloading data runs fine, training the data runs fine, and something fails when uploading to the model registry. This on the or I don't know, with testing or computing the metrics. I don't want to run everything again. It would be really interesting if I could run a new pipeline based on the output state of a previous pipeline. So that's something that is in my mind. I don't think I'll be exploring that soon, but that has a lot of benefits, not only for data scientists, but for the our entire CI user base, and it's just there all the time. Last, and a little bit of least, analytics repository. So when a company grows, so does the number of data scientists. And when the number of data scientists grow, they usually split into teams. Then and they create a lot of knowledge, and it's impossible to consume all the knowledge that is created. So data scientists, we usually talk here about data scientists doing machine learning, but that's not I would say that's not 50% of the job of the data scientist. More often than not, they're not doing machine learning. They're not creating machine learning products. They're using data to create intelligence, to help business make better decisions. So, and on that side, creating metrics, testing metrics, creating cohorts for studies and things like that. So on that sense, those are usually, they are developed within a Jupyter notebook or an R Markdown, and then a report is created on a Google Docs or something where they share with the stakeholders. But the point is, when that Jupyter is completed, and then when they create a report, the Jupyter or the Markdown is pushed to a GitLab repo or something, and then it's completely forgotten forever. When I was a data scientist, we would have, on a previous company, we were about 200 data scientists, and we would joke that every 2 years, we would never run out of work, because every 2 years we would just do the same work again, because everybody forgot that work was done in the first place, or that analysis was done in the first place. I tackled this within that organization by deploying a analytics repository, which is basically a wiki, but for data scientists, where you would push Jupyter notebooks or R Markdowns into this tool. You would make it pretty, add comments, ability for commenting, ability for searching, for displaying, for sharing. And it was really well received by my colleagues. And it really helped this idea of, okay, it is somewhere. If I want to go search for, every time I start a ticket or a new analysis, the first thing I'm going to do is just go into this repository and search what's in there. The same way you search for libraries when you are building a new software, or when you create a new infrastructure. You're not going to implement everything on your own. The first thing you do is see what's out there, and this solved that problem. It was heavily based on, it was built on top of Airbnb Knowledge Repo, which is a repository that's a bit dead for a while, but it does implement most of the necessary things. And what we want to do on this here, we're not going to deploy a knowledge repo thing. What I want to do is to test out, I already did a POC of this a couple of years ago, but use GitLab pages to read all the notebooks that are within a repository, create a SQLite or something, index all of them, and create a page, make them pretty, create an index for them, and add some of this type of functionality to search and to discover with tags and things like that. So this, out of the 4 items, this is the most, how can I say, uncertain of them. This is the one that I have planned the least so far, at least within the GitLab ecosystem. And I'm not sure if this is going to work, or how it is going to work, or if it's just going to be part of Glyter, something that we can make life easier for others. But something I want to work on in the near future. So that was it. The 4 things I want to work on, or I will work on, are user personas for the data science use case, render diffs for Jupyter notebooks, not clearer. Right now we have cleaner. We want to go with rendered Jupyter diffs for notebooks. We want to do a way for users to run arbitrary Jupyter notebooks as pipelines. And 4, analytics repository. I hope this excites you. It makes me really excited about what's to come. And if you have feedback, if you want to see something else being explored, we have this issue over here with our weekly updates. Feel free to drop over there, or drop by over there, leave a comment or something, and I will answer. And that's it for today. Thanks all for sticking with me. Bye.